Welcome.
No, we are. This is Meet My Friends with Daddy Porter.
Oh man, yeah, the pre-production was launched a little bit.
Yeah, Brothers and Bruises tomorrow, and
That's right.
while we're here, we might as well just say that it's with Jonathan Heiser Grove of the National at Home Dad Network. I think it's gonna be cool because we'll talk to him about like a lot of dads are at home now, and a lot of dads are doing that, and they're forced into it. So I'm sure he has heard a lot about this. I've heard a lot about it, and I'm no longer in the organization. But I am excited about our guests tonight because not only are they personal friends of mine, because this Meet My Friends thing, Doug, it's kind of like yes, these people are my friends, but some people are really my friends, like close friends, and some people are I would say more of acquaintances. So
Sure.
This time they're really my friends. Not that they're not anymore. I had or not that they're not all my friends, but yeah, some people I'm closer to, and geographically I'm closer to these guys. So I'm drinking a Nomad Pub World something from Good City. Good City is a brewery that I know both our guests know about. So we're gonna be joined with Jeremy and Joel from breweryfinder.org.
Mm-hmm. And a couple other websites that we'll get to talk to them about, which will be interesting. So
this one, brewery work, distillery, yeah.
So I'm drinking a Big Bad Leather Daddy from North Brewery. This is wait till you hear this one. It's a smoked rye Russian Imperial Stout. So they make weird stuff there. I've taken you there, so that's an interesting combo. But
all right, well, without further ado, we'll bring these guys on and jump in here. So, what's up, Joel?
Hey guys.
Hey Joel.
What's up, Jeremy?
Jeremy, taking a swig.
Hey.
Yes.
Perfect.
Cheers, dudes.
Cheers.
So, yeah, man, we have a rich history. Obviously, we met. I met Joel way back at Dad to New Orleans.
That's like what 6-7 years ago. Quite a while.
It was before San Diego.
Oh, okay.
I believe. And then Jeremy, I met him, I believe, at the same place, but at a Beer Bloggers. I'm not sure. We've known each other for a while. But your craft beer experience, guys, has gone way past that. So I don't know if you guys each want to explain, like, where'd you guys find your craft beer love? Did you find it together? How'd you guys find each other? Yeah, I just put a whole lot on your plate.
Oh, go.
Well, I got an easy answer. So I went to college in Holland, Michigan, and New Holland Brewing opened up in a location that no longer exists. It was a tiny little brew pub. Would have been before I was old enough to drink. And the pizza place I worked at would trade beer for pizza. And I was on the receiving end of a lot of that beer. And up until that point, I just drank all this garbage beer at frat parties, and I couldn't do it. And I came back from India after drinking Indian beer, which is a whole nother animal. Think like Miller Lite, but fully skunked always. And like 8%. It's really terrible stuff. But and I came back, and New Holland was putting out these weird beers, and I was like, what's an IPA? Never even heard of that. And I had their Mad Hatter. So I went from Sierra Nevada Pale to a Mad Hatter to like some crazy barley wines they were trying with fresh blueberries and stuff, and never gone back. So 20-something years ago.
Joel?
So the first time I had any beer, I was definitely past the age of being able to drink legally in the States. It was a Miller Lite, and it was my friend's husband that I wanted to like impress. It was the first time I was meeting him, so she's like, make him happy, basically. He bought me a Miller Lite, and I pretended to like it because I didn't want to offend anyone, but then I didn't drink beer for years after that because that was my only frame of reference. Years later, Jeremy and I were working at the same place, a church in the Chicago suburbs, and I don't remember exactly how it came up, other than my wife Abigail was saying, Joel, you need a way to be able to make more friends. you should probably learn to like beer. I was like, yeah, but it's what I had the reference of was Miller or Bud or whatnot. I'm like, that's not what I want. And so Jer basically took me under his wing and said, let me show you, the way of craft beer. And I became a convert. Yeah, exactly.
And he went quickly from like easy drinking, tasty little pours to, he's like, yeah, I'm going to just stick with the imperial stouts and barrel aged stuff. And that was kind of his go-to for quite some time. It was like, you want to get like an IPA? And he's like, no, I'll have a barrel aged stout. I'm like, oh, okay, then you go right ahead.
I have a favorite. That's sure. I'm drinking an IPA in your honor, Greg. So it's not something dark.
My honor?
Something dark. Yes. Well, because I know I was watching. Was it yesterday? You were like, "Oh, Joel never drinks anything light." I do. I just not that often. So this is from Buckle Down Brewing here in the area. It's called Belt and Suspenders.
Okay.
It's a nice little IPA.
Right. Okay. You threw a curveball.
For a few years. Yep. I'll have a darker one later, but.
All right. So I guess Doug, I was going to ask the follow up, which is, how does that segue into you guys, getting into Brewery Finder?
Oh, I got this one, Joel, because I was a real pain in your ass. So because of how I like beer and I like to go to breweries and visit breweries, I like to go to the source and find it. When, I don't know, it was probably 2013, 2014, something like that. Joel's office is right across from mine. And I was going and he's like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I don't remember if your first was born yet or not. Mine was not. And so I had
13. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he had a little one that kind of occupied time and I did not. And so I was still running to Chicago whenever I could, living close by and things like that. And, started griping about how difficult it was. I was like, yeah, I've got my Google Maps and I've got this spreadsheet I've got to try to keep out when breweries. Night, kiddo. Got all this stuff trying to figure out how to find a brewery. What time's it open? When can I get there? How do I get blah, blah, blah. And I think Joel heard me griping one too many times to him. And he's like, I can make something to fix that. And I was like, yeah, go ahead, buddy. And lo and behold, Joel's like, so here's my idea. Let's put all this together. And it was like, the beer stuff. I know the technology stuff. I'd like to know more about the beer stuff. Let's do it. And so Joel, from scratch, started putting this thing together and I started pounding information into it. So it started out just in Chicago. And then I took a new job and didn't work with him anymore. And after spending like a year and a half or 2 years on our original site was chicago.beer. We even got on PBS. I mean, come on now. And
Chicago tonight.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, now I live in Wisconsin and all this time and energy I've spent on the Chicago thing doesn't work for me anymore because I'm not in Chicago. And Joel's like, okay, we can fix that. And lo and behold, Brewery Finder was born. So more or less, I'm sure Joel's got some adjustments to my story, but that's how I like to think of it.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, anytime anyone asks, I basically talk about your bitching about how difficult it was. I mean, Abigail travels. I travel when I can with her, and so it is nice to have a reliable record of places to go and have something that is more pleasing to the eye as well. You're not going to go to Google Maps and see nice profile images for each brewery. You're not really going to have a lot of the tags going on as far as what's got a kids menu there. Do they have food? Do they not have food? That sort of thing.
Right.
And like with anything, it's an ongoing, constantly changing process. Even before this whole pandemic started to happen, keeping 7,500 to 9,000 profiles up to date and looking pretty impossible. But it is something that we do the best we can with, and I think it's worked out pretty well so far.
Doug?
So the other thing that I saw that I was unaware of, and I mentioned to you earlier, was a distillery finder. I love the beer stuff, and I've had beer almost every show here. Sometimes I have, on a rare occasion, I'll have cocktail or scotch. Which one was more the impetus for the distillery edge? Was it you or Jeremy?
Joel
That-
all the
yeah.
way.
I really like liquor. I mean, I'm a big fan
I
of bourbons, whiskeys, scotch, that sort of thing. And for me, I thought it was kind of the next logical step of moving from beer into something. I don't want to say anything offensive, but not necessarily more sophisticated, but in a way, because you go buy a bottle of scotch, you're going to spend a hell of a lot more money than you are just on some nice beer, and that's something that I've wanted to explore. We only put it up about a month and a half, maybe 6-7 weeks ago. So it is definitely in the beginning stages, but what launched is better than done. Because it's not ever going to be perfect, but I'm happy that it's out there and it's something I'm working on, both to find out that there are places around me I didn't know about, and I've lived here 10, 15 years, and then traveling places too. There's about, I think, 2,000 locations on there worldwide, whereas Brewery Finder right now is just US and Canada. Although we should soon be getting Mexico and Australian locations posted. So
That's cool.
And there's a lot of distillery, brewery, tandem
Combo.
operations. A lot. I've been with a couple of you fellas to Dogfish Head, where they both distill and make beer. And there's a lot of places up in Wisconsin who are starting to do the same. There's one over in Eau Claire that I visited on vacation, and should have gone to the distillery first and made better decisions. But nonetheless, it was a delightful evening that I don't recall a lot of, and my wife took me home. So it seems like a good pairing. And I know there's a lot of places who are starting to use their own barrels to stick their own beer in, like cutting out the whole barrel broker type thing. And they're just like, yeah, we brewed this whiskey, and now we're putting our beer in it, and now it's going to be, ours exactly. We can tweak the barrels however we want.
Yeah.
So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It feels
New Holland does that with Dragon's Milk.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the Dragon's Milk bourbon. So
the craft beer industry and the craft distillery industry, they feel really close to me. And as you said, Jeremy, there are a lot of places that are like close. I remember on my Philly run, there were a bunch of places where a few places, not a bunch, but a few where there was in the same house a craft brewery and a distillery, and they were just separate owners, but they decided to come together in one spot because, again, you're offering different things for different people. Not everybody's a craft person. Maybe if you're a craft person, you got a distillery person, you can both do the same thing at the same time. So I do have a comment about going back to Brewery Finder. You guys were doing this Brewery Finder before it was cool, and I know this because you guys were one of the first ones. You guys are really one of the first ones out there. There was, I think, another one out there, and thus the reason that Jeremy was bitching, because there was really no resources. Since you guys have popped up, there's been a couple more that have popped up. Especially the big one is craftbeer.com. You guys were out there before craftbeer.com. I know this for a fact. So I'm glad to see you guys are still around kicking, and it's just interesting. I just want to see your perspective a little bit as far as kind of like, I don't want to say being one of the first ones, but again, for me, you were, because I had only saw one or two and they were completely unreliable. And sometimes they led you to places and the addresses weren't right and all that. So I don't know if you guys want to kind of look back on that and maybe comment.
I mean, there was and I think it still exists. It's called Brewery DB, which was one of the first ones I used to use. And when it's accurate, it was fine. But it was very much, and I say this with all the love and for all my accountant friends, but it looked like an accounting spreadsheet. You'd like kick onto it and you're like, oh, I got to click this and this and this. And you pull up a very basic box, and it wasn't pretty. And not that everything has to be pretty, utility is pretty solid in my book, but it doesn't give you a feel for the vibe of anything. And so just a text box with pertinent information, you're like, okay, this is going to be a weird blind date, So I guess I'd rather be able to see some pictures, know a little bit. I mean, for me, the story of the place is really important. And that's one of the things we try to focus on a lot of times is the story behind the brewery or why it started. Some breweries are really good at telling their stories. A lot are not. And I mean, you can make great beer, and I may not actually want to hang out at your place if it's a bro bar. And there are some places with killer stories that beer is not great. And I would rather honestly hang out with those people than I would at the real slick ones where you're like, yeah, you got a lot of money, but there's no heart in this. And so, we tried to take a lot of those. I mean, there are a lot of different people keep maps of things. I mean, a lot of people do it in the state they're in or locale they're in, and try to combine them all, link people up and things like that. So it's a little bit prettier, more user-friendly than just a spreadsheet. So that's part of how I think about it.
Anything to add, Joel, or I can let Doug ask the next question?
Yeah, I mean, he covered it. Honestly, the utility is great, and there's nothing. I have nothing against Google for doing what they do, but our site's just prettier, and a lot of times it's more reliable than what they have. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And again, I don't like going to a place that I don't know what the vibe is. I like to know what the bar looks like or what the building looks like. And Google Maps does just not, they don't do a good job of that. Where for our site, we've got a header, we've got a lot of times a story. If they've got promo videos, we pop those in there to really give someone a feel, especially if they haven't been to a location before, what it's going to be like. And, I've been to a bunch of places in California and enjoy it. And once you're there, you get a different idea. But if I'm here in Chicago trying to find out, well, I'm taking a trip to DC, what's going on here? If they don't have anything online, or I can't find anything, it's really frustrating. So we are constantly going through and contacting breweries and asking them for anything that they have, even if it's not already posted online. We've gotten videos early, and we've gotten, information directly from breweries more often than not that hasn't been posted other places, because we're doing a lot of that legwork. And you guys all know, if you're dealing with the brewery, especially the small mom and pop shops, they mean well, but it doesn't always mean that information is going to get out there, and you kind of have to hound them sometimes. But in the end, I think we've got a product that looks pretty nice.
Cheers to that. So that's Paige saying, "Oh, look at all your faces."
Hi, Paige.
Dan Boobian. Dan Boobian.
Dan.
He did a live show earlier for Beer Ploma today, I think.
Yeah, ready for the draw. Yeah, stouts are Cecil's favorite.
Yes, they are.
That's a lot of legwork. I was thinking that when you were talking.
It is, and one of the things that I'm proud of is we've been around for almost 6 years. And we've, like you said, Greg, we've seen a lot of these places show up. And I mean, I can name 4 or 5 of them that have started after we did and have already quit and gone off to do their own thing or said, this wasn't worth the time. And it's something that we really enjoy. And when we started Brewery Finder, both Jer and I talked, and we agreed that either we're going to do it and figure out how to make money, which we're still trying to figure out, or we're going to keep working on it until it's not fun anymore. Well, here we are almost 6 years later, and it's still something that we enjoy working on and connecting with people over. So, it's going to stay around for a while yet.
Sweet. Doug?
Well, so when you get this information, is it just that you have other folks who are saying, I've been to this brewery? Do you take information from others, or do you actually just get it straight from the breweries?
Sometimes it's because we know people all over the place. It's a mix, really, of what the brewery puts out there, contacting the brewery, and if they've got a marketing person or a GM or something that wants to send us some photos or videos, or people that have been there. I know I've used some photos courtesy of Greg before and other people that we know. I've not been to Colorado in a long time, but I have friends there, so they'll send me information about what's open and what's not and what's new and what isn't. Even when I was in Ohio before this whole, pandemic started, I got to see the new Forbidden Root location, did a 360 tour there, which was awesome. I love the location. But I was able to also contact some people that live around Ohio and ended up with a guy I'd never met before who works at one of the breweries that gave me a whole audit of the state and helped me update like 36 locations that I didn't know either were new or had changed ownership and needed updates. And yeah, it's a big crowdsourcing thing beyond us contacting the breweries themselves.
That's cool. Yeah, I thought that's how it worked, but obviously I'm not running it, so I wanted to know.
Sure.
So yeah, this is a quote I love to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't. That's one of the biggest things I miss now is
yeah, for sure.
For sure. So let's talk about brewery.work. Where did this one come from?
Joel.
Yeah. Jared hasn't done anything really on this one.
Yeah, I have a login, and I don't think I've ever actually used the login ever. Maybe just like once to see what he was talking about.
You did. You used it once.
This was totally Joel's brainchild. He was just like, there's a lot of beer jobs in Chicago. I think I can help people find things. And I was like, I think that's awesome. I don't know how to do any of that.
And so, I mean, it's a super simple site. Basically, it's a site to go to for job listings that I find that I think are interesting. We've had a few dozen jobs from other breweries. Breweries just show up because you can log in and list them for free. There's a way to feature them like in our weekly email list and stuff. I had that happen a couple times. And I know of at least 7 people that have gotten jobs this way, just through the site. That's how they found a listing and ended up getting the job eventually. So it's worth something. Honestly, it's a way that I've been able to give back to the brewing industry, I think, because like you said, Greg, you meet some really, really interesting people at breweries, and it doesn't take a lot of my time to be able to update this or make sure the posts that are going up are legit from actual breweries. Yeah, and it's something I like to do.
You've actually had, so it's that's actually helped. You said 7 different people find jobs in the
that I know of. Yeah, the people, most of them have been in the Chicago area, but one of them was in California. So
yeah, cool.
Cheers.
That's excellent. Cheers.
Yeah, that's 7 lives changed.
Absolutely. So I mean, and it doesn't cost me a whole lot of time, and I feel like I'm making a difference. So it's there. And again, it's like it's a job posting site. I don't keep anybody's information as far as resumes or job profiles or anything like that. I thought that would be kind of a privacy nightmare and a bit too much to handle for me, like to add on as far as my to-do list. So just the job listing is email site. That's all.
And so these aren't just websites. You have well, they are just websites, but you've built a good foundation around them. I don't know if you want to talk about that. I mean like as far as newsletters and as far as social media. And I'm pretty sure the website that we're talking about now has its own group, right? On Facebook?
Yeah, there's I think 350 people in the brewery jobs group, which is nice. We got people, brewers from like Twisted Hippo have come in and they've listed jobs and hired people. Someone from North Carolina just recently was talking about some stuff on a canning line they were looking for. Some people in Southern California were hiring for like curbside pickup people. It's definitely something that we've been able to make useful for a community that is separate from the Brewery Finder community. There's some cross-pollination, but most of the group in the Brewery Work Facebook group is not associated with the Brewery Finder stuff that we've got going on already.
Gotcha. That's my friend Carlos. He's in Chicago.
I have a number. In the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of people join the group. And I would say probably that we went from about that 300 mark to about that 350 mark because of everything that's going on. And like anything, since I'm the one that's running it, some weeks there'll be 2 or 3 job postings, and other weeks there'll be, 30, depending on what's opening and how much time I have to work on the site. But definitely, it's been getting a lot more traffic recently, and I'm happy for that because Brewery Finder traffic has gone down, but that's okay because not a lot of people are going to breweries right now.
Wow, yeah. Doug, let me jump in on a follow-up here. So,
sure.
Is Brewery Work? Brewery.work, does that work a lot like breweryfinder.org, meaning it's it's a community based thing. Like, are you encouraging other people to post? Are you encouraging other people to, if they see something that's open? I mean, obviously at this point, it's kind of we're in a weird kind of area here because everybody not working. I mean, it's going to be work, but like, are you encouraging like brewers, for example, if they're looking for a brewer to post, or how does that work?
So it's this site specifically would be the brewery if they have an opening to list it, or someone who knows if a brewery is hiring. If you're a brewer looking for a job, I encourage you to join the Brewery Finder group on Facebook, because that's where brewers who are looking for jobs, or people who are cooks or marketing people in the brewing industry, can post and say, hey, I'm looking for this. And we've had a lot of people then say, have you seen this listing or this listing? Sometimes it's on our site, sometimes it's on Indeed or LinkedIn or Google Jobs or any of those other places. And it's all about the community and helping them out. So the Facebook group is for people looking for jobs and want to have help. If they haven't found anything listed on Brewery Find or Brewery Work. And then Brewery Work itself is, if I find something interesting, I'll post it. A lot of breweries have posted things there. Or we've had a few people who have said, hey, my brewery is hiring for such and such a position. And then they'll post it. Like I said, it's a free service. Unless you're looking to have it featured, then there's no fees or anything.
All right, Doug.
See, the thing is like, I know a lot. I know you, Joel, specifically pretty well, and I've known a lot of these sort of things. So,
Next one.
The smells like bean spirit.
Yes,
There's the big black beer.
Yeah. This
So
one,
from the IPA to the good stuff.
I did. Yeah, this is the stuff I enjoy.
The good stuff, Doug says. Go on, Doug.
Hey.
Not to interrupt, but I mean that's a beautiful looking. That's a beautiful.
Oh, that's a great beer.
I've never had that one. I've seen that a bunch of times, and I've never been able. Here we don't get that here. So,
Microphone has two misses.
Yeah. The nice thing is they make this year round. They didn't used to, but now, if you're ever in Chicago, or if I make it back to the East Coast again, we'll be able to get you some. Mailing is a little iffy because a lot of times it's in bombers.
yeah.
But they did, I think, just start canning it every once in a while. So
we just started getting it like a half an hour south of me.
There you go.
It has not come. No, I lied. We had some at my favorite watering hole, which is currently closed. They got a 2 4-packs, I think, and I did not get a can because they posted it on Untapped, and I got to the bar brewery at like 4:45, and they opened at 4. They were all gone, like right out the gate, because nobody gets it.
There you go.
So,
yeah, and that's one of the things. If I could jump in real quick too, Jared and I have talked about. We have no desire at all to catalog beers. Untapped does a great job with that. Beer Menus does a nice job tracking it. Sika Brew does a nice job finding distribution points for different breweries. Those services do a nice job at those things, and so we don't want to jump in and work ourselves, to the bone to try and make it better, because I think they do a nice job. What I think they really suck at is what we're doing with the Brewery Finder mapping and that sort of thing. Untapped has an option, but it's really terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at that. Buckle your seatbelt for that stout ride.
Right.
Awesome looking pour.
Absolutely.
My friend Carlos wrote this. I'm not sure what that means. Do you guys know?
Spiteful's awesome.
Yeah, it's a brewery
killer IPAs, and they have one of my favorite chili stouts, Malevolence.
Mm-hmm.
Every year at Fobab, I make it a point to try to find it's like a bourbon barrel aged, big bruiser, like 10-12% with. Is it cayenne, or do they change the peppers? All I know is it bites in the most delightful way. So you get that heat and the booze and the chocolate, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, the back of my tongue. And then you're like, and then you drink it and you're like, yeah, this is the stuff.
They also did a key lime IPA called Dumb Donald, making fun of Donald Trump.
I have that bottle in my kitchen.
Which is a fantastic beer, number one, but I enjoyed the packaging with it as well.
Okay. And on that note,
you guys don't have to say anything. I'll take it. It's fine.
Well,
we've made comments before. It's just like we try not to go too far overboard on those.
We're pretty
All right,
opinionated on that shit. But
you can blame me.
Right, and I need to ask you guys. This is a theme that I've been making sure that I talk to, whether it be our brewery professionals or adjacent brewery professionals, what you guys are, or like an appendage, I would call you. You guys are like a highlight. You're an appendage. Is that a word? Is that a good one? Anyway, my point is that
we're not a parasitical group. That's good, at least.
All right. Well, we won't use
go forward.
No, you guys are an accessory. You know what I mean? Like you're not actually in the brewery.
Accessory to beer drinking.
But you're like, yeah, you're a supplement.
Brewery adjacent.
Brewery adjacent. And I'm sure I'm going to get beat up in the comments here. Right. I already appendage. No, but you guys are a helpful part of supporting breweries and all that. And Joel, you said the word supporting breweries, I think 3 times already. And
that's why we don't charge for anything.
And 30 minutes.
We have ways people can help, and that's great. But our whole idea was, while the Brewers Association is awesome, and while the state guilds are great, they tend to feature and focus on those that give them money, which I get. Like, that's what they need to do because they need to keep the organizations around. Jeremy and I decided that we didn't want to pursue that route because there are a lot of small breweries out there, and there are a lot of new breweries out there that can't afford to go the fees route that those groups charge. And a lot of them make good beer and shouldn't be left out because they haven't made it far enough yet to be able to get involved with those groups because they don't have the money yet, or they don't have the time to invest in those things. And we wanted to make sure not to leave people out. And that's probably the big reason we're not making money, but I think it's better because we're part of the consciousness and the community of craft beer more than worrying about a bottom line.
So with that, great segue to how do you think we can help breweries during this pandemic? It's a question I've been asking everybody, given your knowledge of breweries. You guys have been in a lot of breweries. You guys know a lot of brewers. You know a lot of people involved in the brewing industry. Do you guys have any tips for anybody to how we can keep, any way we can, whether it be money-wise or not?
I mean, I would say if you can, I am currently kind of getting into my cellar a little bit more because I have too much beer, according to my wife. Joel's seen my cellar, and so I've been doing that. But like I have 2 locals like right in my town here. Beer Company is closed up shop, and they've stopped brewing operations for a while, and we'll see if they open back up. The restaurant that they're based in will reopen, but they've been closed for a month. And so I made it a point when they were still open to order and try to like empty their draft lines because they're like, well, if we have this sweet IPA from Central Waters, it will not be good by the time we open up. We don't want to serve it then. Three Sheeps is my other favorite one, and I'm just looking at myself now, and I'm recognizing I'm wearing a Three Sheep shirt. I was intentional. I did somewhere. Yeah, I have my the wolf from Three Sheeps. They just had their anniversary party, which Greg actually was at last year with me.
Nice.
Got
a little hazy by the end of the night. Oh yeah, and Mari and Nate. That's really good people around. And Three Sheeps is doing curbside pickup for stuff, and they have the ownership and the leadership team there are. I mean, they're deeply invested in Sheboygan as a community in Wisconsin, and so they've been rolling out all sorts of specialties, which they tend to do as like a Friday tap room specialty if you happen to show up, stuff like that. But they've been doing that so you can pick up crowlers and all these other things, daily pickups. So their anniversary party, which would have been this past weekend, which I did not get to work at, they are doing all the bottle pickups drive through in the parking lot. Normally have about 2,000, 2,500 people at this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So because I spend a lot of time there and the people there know my child and things like this, I went in and when we were picking up stuff, tipping excessively, not like a buck of beer, but like $10 an order or more. But being intentional about ordering beer there. Not that I don't go to my beer store once in a while, but I have, outside of my cellar, I have only had stuff from Three Sheeps in my house unless someone's handed it to me since this shitstorm started. It's a good way to do it. And I know Three Sheeps just this past week, they invested in seltzers, which is not my bag. I know there are some people who just like delight in those things, but they have a seltzer line, which has actually been a big perk for them because they can still sell that out of the brewery and it's not huge distribution yet. So they're doing all that kind of stuff. But in doing that, then the past month, they've had most of their taproom staff has been off, which was not, I know the owners are not taking pay right now at all. Like they're trying to keep as many people working as they can. And so just buying the local stuff as best you can is great. I got some pre-sale stuff that are, anniversary stuff for Third Space in Milwaukee. And as much as I want to drive to Milwaukee right now, and I'd love to do some Milwaukee brewery visits right now to pick up some beer, I know the healthiest thing for me is to not drive to Milwaukee and pick up beer for my own pleasure and risking other people. So, but those breweries they've done a couple cool drive-in days where they've brought stock to one big parking lot location, and you could pre-order online and go through one line to pick up stuff from like 6 breweries to try to be as contactless and as helpful as they can. And it's allowed a lot of them to keep their staff on. But I know there's a bunch of places that, like Joel just sent me a message, saw it on Facebook, Argus Brewing, which is a fun place down on the south side, like Pullman in Chicago, just decided they're shutting down permanently. There's just the math doesn't work. And I know in Wisconsin, we have a bunch who are threading the line as it was. And if they can't get their beer from their tap room, they don't distribute. If you don't buy it at their tap room, they may not have a tap room when this blows over. So go to your tap room, buy it literally at the source. Super, super fresh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of places, especially in Chicago, but all over the country that are doing curbside pickup. They're doing gift cards. They're doing like Lake Effect Brewing in the city. There's another one escapes my thought right now, but I see them all the time where the brewery, they do a collaboration with the local donut shop, or they do something with a bakery or different things. And they say, hey, buy our beer. And then with this packet, you get the beer and the popcorn and whatever. And you can support not just the local brewery around you, but some other group and small business that is working with them to make something happen. And at the same time, I understand that's not for everyone. My wife's a flight attendant, and obviously the travel industry is being hit really hard right now. So a lot of the stuff that I'm doing to help beyond just the website stuff, there's a brewery called Exit Strategy in Forest Park, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And they have come out with these T-shirts called Survival Strategy, where the idea basically is they're selling the shirts to make a little bit of money, but they're also trying to get their fans, both of the brewery itself and craft beer in general, to say, hey, craft beer is important. Write your congressperson, write anyone that can help out with these small business loans that are going on. If you know of a brewery that's doing a great special, talk to your friends about it, because maybe you can't buy it, but you know someone who could, and that would patronize the business, and they could do the virtual tip jar and that sort of thing, even if you can't. So it's not necessarily that you have to spend money if you don't have it. If you have it, it's great. But if you don't, talking about it and getting that message out there can be really helpful too.
Sharing and all that. Doug?
Exactly.
We've that's been kind of the recurrent theme is, obviously we're all pretty much the buy local kind of folks anyhow. So just kind of extending that to the ones around here are doing the contactless pickup. So you can do that. And, the gift card, that's been a recurrent theme. And I think that's great. And, they're like Greg has said multiple times, it's their mom and pop shops. Most of them. There's not a lot of them that are, oh, we can survive, 6 months. Most of them cannot. And
Right.
so, you can help as many as you can. That's, that's where it's at.
So I got a question for you guys. It's going to be off of what we talked about. So just wanted to let you know. There you go. I know this is something that's passionate for both of you. So I think you both want to answer.
Are you going to ask him?
I was.
Or did it see it?
I'm ready for the question.
Oh, from Dan?
Yeah, give me an elevator pitch of why I need to go to FOBAB. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm biased, but Great Taste in Wisconsin is hands down the best outdoor beer festival there is. I would take FOBAB, Festival of Barrel Aged Beers, hopefully again this November in Chicago. I have been, I think, 8 or 9 years in a row. I will take that over anything else. I would choose it over the Great American Beer Festival. I would choose it over Fresh Fest. I would choose it over anything because I love barreled beers, and it is not, you think, okay, it's huge, boozy monsters that are 14% in a bourbon barrel, and that's not my thing. No, they have killer sours, like some of the best sours you can find anywhere. Experimental stuff, like barrel-aged Pilsners. I mean, come on. Amazing stuff. Weird things. It's just great. And it's such a cool community. Joel and I have been stewarding for 4 or 5 years now. It's a cool space. It's in Chicago. And so you can do all the other Chicago stuff. They do cool awards, and it's Midwest heavy. So, and I personally will put the Midwest up against either coast. I don't give a shit. Chicago makes just as good beer as anybody, anywhere. But you get all the cool locations there too. And the places that aren't big into barreling, they will do killer stuff all weekend long in Chicago as like a FOBAB festival weekend. So you can hit 10, 20, 30 breweries, even if you don't do FOBAB. Say you just, I don't want to pay the money for a ticket. You can just go and do some amazing world-class beers around there. So I'm not always a huge proponent of Goose Island. They're a beer I definitely cut my teeth on in Chicago, but I will tell you now, Goose makes the whole thing happen, for good or for bad. And they roll out gems at they have like their own little shanty kind of thing. And it's pretty cool, but, they were pouring like 2015 BCS out of a keg, because why not? And they have all the weird variations. So you want to try that, Bourbon County rare $60 bottle, which you can't buy outside of Chicago. Yeah, I got to have several pours there. And I'm just seeing Cecil. If you go with Cecil, you will get Cecil to drink, and Cecil will do push-ups for everyone.
Yes.
It's
become a tradition.
And
we get to hang out with like a good friend of ours, Rita, is always there, and we always get to hang out with Rita at the. Oh, there you go, Rita. We always get to hang out with Rita there, which is awesome. And we've met a lot of cool people stewarding, and it's a unique thing. It's because there's not nearly as much hype about it. It's just awesome. So
that's definitely one I'd love to go to, but it's a little hard to get to for me.
Oh man, this needs to happen for me for sure. So the Carlos says the sour room's absurdly good. Joel, you want to jump in here, or did Jeremy take all your speed? I mean,
he did a great job. I love the fact that FOBAB is its own thing. There are multiple sessions, and you can go and completely get hammered if you wanted, or you can just go to enjoy the oddities that are there. But there are also like things that I like, the whiskey barrel aged coffee, typical things you would expect from barrel aged beers that are fantastic. And it's in a great location. They usually have it at the USC Pavilion. It's been there the last few years. Easy walking distance to Greektown and hotels. So there's always an after party you can find somewhere. We went to a barbecue place afterwards with like no signs on the door. I didn't know if Rita was going to take us to a nice barbecue place or she's trying to get us killed. But that was pretty cool. It's great. I mean, the whole weekend, again, like Jer said, you can attend the festival or not and still really enjoy your time and get things that you wouldn't get otherwise. And then so many for the festival themselves. It's amazing, and the community again is. I would put it up against any other fest I've been to. It is my favorite fest. I literally arrange my entire November schedule to make sure that I can go to Fobab for the weekend.
Doug, I know it's far from you, but this sounds like your speed, man.
That sounds like exactly up my alley.
It's worth the trip. They also
maybe I'll have to drive to Greg's house, and then we'll have to drive up there.
It's like 2 hours from Madison.
Yeah,
we crashed in a hotel
out here. My house. You think I have to return the favor?
So they also every year a brewery, Lunar, which is in Villa Park, used to like down the street from where I used to live when I lived in Chicagoland. They do a Malorted stout. So if you don't know Malort, you should definitely get some Malort and drink it because Malort is great.
Whoa!
They take a Malort barrel and then they pour their stout in it. And it is one of the most noxious, foul things ever. But there will be a line every single night for the sixtel they have, and it will be kicked just so fast.
Well, one of those things like it sounds so bad you have to try it.
Yep.
Malort is, yes.
Yeah, it's
Malorted stout would sound that way too.
Yeah, so Malort kind of tasted like Malort, some people say like homeless man, like filtered through old socks and cheese. It's a wormwood schnapps. You can look there's a website called Malort Face, and you can watch people actually drinking the stuff. It's Chicago only. It's kind of a rite of passage if you live in Chicago and go to the bars. I actually don't think it's bad. But when you mix it with the stout, it's kind of an odd herbal, botanical, burny flavor. I don't know. I know some people really like that beer. I don't. I've had it a couple times. I always get it. So I highly recommend it as a good one. So
thanks, Bob Paliano, for that comment.
I've heard if you inject it, it takes care of coronavirus.
That is not. There are no guarantees with that.
No, the president said it. He thinks if you inject things like that, you can kill it, or maybe a bright light. But bright light's bad for beer, so you shouldn't put bright light on your beer.
No,
but good for the anyway. Cecil says my November schedule is planned around Fobab. I personally traveled back from DC 2 years ago just to do that.
He did. He drove from the East Coast to make sure he could get there, and we could spend the weekend, drinking high AVB beers. It was great.
Well, excellent, fellas. Is there anything else that you guys want to get out about your projects? Any other road you want to talk about? And Doug, do you have any more questions?
No, it's I think I'll just make the comment that, I've been following your stuff for a bit, and I'm glad you're doing it. Like I said, you have certain people that do certain things well, but none of them do the brewery finder part well at all. So this is definitely something that if anybody hasn't looked at it, you absolutely should start taking a look because it's wicked helpful.
And we view it as a community project. So anyone that wants to update things, or if you notice something's not right, or you have some awesome pictures you want to share, let us know. We're more than happy to throw it on the site and use it. It's great.
Well, unless you guys have more, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks for coming on to show your multitude. I got that right, didn't I, Doug?
Yes.
Of projects. Joel, you I feel you, man. I relate to you a lot in the aspect of I feel that you're an idea generator. I feel that you come up with great ideas about projects. And I also feel, with knowing you personally and talking to you over the years, that sometimes like you have all these great ideas and you don't have the personnel to make them all happen. So I feel you on a level, because you have like 6,000 projects, and I just told you I need to have you back just for yourself so we can talk about your Daddy's Grounded and your 360 stuff.
Sure.
And so we'll see Joel here soon, hopefully, if he wants to. But
absolutely, anytime, man.
Cheers, man. So I just want to thank you guys again for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving us a perspective about again, anything else you guys want to say about the breweries while we're still here? We still got some time, but I just don't want to hold it too long, and kind of want to keep it concise so people can see this in the future. It'll be on my YouTube page, and I'm pretty sure you guys will have it on your Facebook page, so
Okay.
people can at least see a video and see exactly what you guys are up to.
Anything, Jared?
Yeah.
I'm just as a kind of like a side thing. I'm the president of my homebrew club, and it's been a thing that we've talked a lot about in our homebrew club. Pandemic aside, just being intentional to support your local breweries, and if you can buy from the brewery rather than the booze store, which do both, but go to your local place, get your stuff, support your local homebrew shop, things like that. Learn about your beer. I'm working on my sister-owned stuff right now. I want to catch up to Rita specifically.
Right.
There's a lot of good friends that all have that, and knowing how to drink good beer is huge to being able to appreciate good beer. And I found the more I learn about beer, you'd think it'd be the opposite way, like where you're like, oh, I know too much now I can't appreciate anything. You actually, I think, find a deeper appreciation for most beer, period. And it's worth that education piece, because I love Pilsners, and 5 years ago would have never said that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And water's good too.
Stay hydrated.
True. Yes, absolutely.
Dan misses all of us, and he wants us to stay safe. Rita says you got this, Jeremy.
Someday.
Right. I feel that. All right, fellas. I will see you guys and talk to you soon. I'd like to have you back. Maybe we can have both of you guys back. I want to say the fall, but we'll say when this is over.
Yeah.
We're coming out of it, and I want people to remind people that they can go to your resources, because when people break out, they're going to want to break out. And those people like, so thanks, fellas, for coming on. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Again.
Have a good night.
Yep, you do.
So, Doug, what are your thoughts about this? Where are you at?
Well, I mean, I said, I've known Joel for a while. Jeremy, I don't know all that well, but like I know him as an ancillary thing from you and Joel and other folks.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel is an idea guy, man. That guy comes up with some really fabulous ideas, and just like where do you find time to sleep? Because there's like so many things going on.
Right.
So it's the brewery finder stuff is really excellent. I was unaware of the distillery finder, so I'm going to start using that and maybe seeing if I can throw some stuff their way, because we have quite a few distilleries here in upstate. So I'll see if I can't help them track some of those down.
Yeah, and I need to be better with that. I did. Joel did mention I did. I was sending him stuff, but I completely stopped. So I need to keep them in my radar. As far as, because I go to all these breweries, as you know, and I take pictures, and then I end up not putting anything out there, and then it's like, why the hell am I doing this? So anyway, it's a big cycle. But so Doug, we got a busy weekend, man. Tomorrow we have, as we said, Jonathan JHG. We call him Jonathan Hyzen Grove, president at Home Dad Network. And then I don't have a damn banner for for 11 a.m. on Saturday, man. Ellie from Brewing Collaborative up in Minneapolis is going to join us and talk about diversity in brewing and beer and all that wonderful stuff. So we got a couple good shows coming here, and then next week we have some more.
Yeah.
It's time to stay busy, man. I'm trying to stay busy. So
yeah.
Doug, I will see you. Look at this. Less than 24 hours. We have a regular show. I don't know, and I got some interesting things. I'm gonna bring some moonshine. Moonshine. I don't know. You like moonshine?
It depends. There's moonshine, and then there's shit somebody brewed in a pot out in the woods. There's a couple different things. Moonshine can be good, or if somebody just made it and it tastes like rubbing alcohol, that's not great. So
it's kind of scary. So we'll have
take a step.
Right. No. Listen, man, I told you, if you go back to the first couple shows, man, like you were my liquor distillery guy, like, or I need to bounce things off of you before I try this stuff. So that's why.
Yeah, and I am an expert, so it's like I'm still figuring stuff out. So,
all right, Doug, I'll see you tomorrow.
You got it, man. Cheers.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll see Doug in a second here, I think.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.